Now in this video we're going to analyze a very interesting part of the allegory, and I would like you to help me on this. Please comment your thoughts in the comments. Today we are gonna be analyzing the main character of the church, of the allegory of the church. And so I'm asking to you, in a global scale, who do you think would represent Nathan? It will be very interesting to try to think about it. So, whom will be like Nathan or Samuel, but in a global scale? Whom is Nathan represented by in this um, allegory of the church? I think Nathan is not represented only by one person, but a group of people, because Nathan is the pattern of a group of characteristics that repeat all over the world, but most importantly, in people that rules the world, whose actions will impact the whole mankind. Thus, I think nation won't only represent one person, but a group of people. And here, I will express the circumstances in which he was raised and the results and the resulting characteristics from that parenting style. I'm describing Nathan's background, environments, and personality to help us see what other people might fit in his characteristics and circumstances of life. A group of people who has came through those same circumstances and thus have ended up acquiring the same characteristics and personality. I wish you can help me on this. So let us start by one thing. Nathan was born in a wealthy and privileged family, a family with lots of power, and people around his family was always willing to obey their commandments with no hesitation. Nathan grew old knowing that people around him was meant to gladly obey him and treat him with all respect, and with an so excessive respect, almost like a superior being,
Rich, ruthless,
almost
and
like
famous, my
worshipping him.
guest is a New York institution
That's
known for
why
the buildings he's built
there
and
was
the
no reason
wives
for
he's
him
divorced. You don't want to cross him, though,
to
because
learn
Christian
humbleness,
nationalism is the basis of not
because
only the political
that's
philosophy,
the way
but
he
the
was
entire
raised.
education system
He never had
that
a
Elon
chance
Musk
to
is built up
practice
into.
to be
Celtic
humble,
Errol, who makes
because all
more
people
money,
around him
principally
all the
through
time was praising
investments
him,
in
and
emerald mines in Zambia.
that's why he became to be very egocentric and narcissistic, because he grew up believing he was like the center of the world. Maybe not exactly him, but his family, his father. And now, when he became an apostle, of course, he thought he was actually the center of the world, above any other human being on earth. So that's why he was narcissistic, because he was raised in in those circumstances. And also, another thing that is like similar, but it is a result of being raised under those circumstances, is that he was surrounded all the time by flattering people. And when you're raised in such environment, you will hardly find someone that may dare you. They may dare to point out your flaws or your defects. It won't be any person strong or courageous enough to correct him. So all people around him was always the only complimenting him. Under those circumstances, most people around only pointed out his virtues, even if there were not such. They will be willing to lie to find his favor. So, like saying, "You are very smart. You are the best. You're so handsome. You're the most beautiful person in the world." So
famous,
that's
my
why
guest is a New
they
York
end up being
institution known for the turnaround
so
ever.
entitled, and they actually believe what people say to them. So they end up believing that every compliment that they have been received is true. So they think they are smart. So their wisdom, their perfection, their superior conditions, they end up believing all that. And this makes them unable to accept any mistake or any wrongdoing. So the people that is wrong in this way uh, can't stand criticism. They are not used to it. They don't accept any complaint about them or about their deeds. So another thing that make Nathan special, that because he grew up under special circumstances that end up making him being what he was, what he became to be, is that he always had everything he needed. Also, when you are rich and powerful, of course, mm, you don't know what it's like to be starving, being being hungry, or struggling to get medical treatment, nor they don't know what it's like to look and search for a job. They don't know how difficult it is to compete with other people. And they don't have to struggle for any other need because they have everything they need. So that makes them end up being unable to really understand the effort dedicated to get all those things that they take for granted because they have gotten them so easily, like by chance. So they don't really understand how difficult it was for their parents to build up that family business. So they don't really understand what it's like to dedicate some effort to do something for their own. So that's the way Nason was grown in the same way as Adoraim and all the family, the Joaquin family and all the grandsons of Aaron and Samuel, and now the daughters and sons of Nathan. So that's the reason why they are unable to fight for something, because everything they have, if they have gotten it very easily. They don't know how much effort and work is behind all the things that they get so easily. So another thing that you can see in them is their life is secured by their family business and a strong and well established and growing organization that seemed to be founded to last forever. This being so confident about the business of their family make them feel like they have their future secured. So when you have everything, when you even your job secured by your family business, you don't even have to worry about to study anything. You don't have to do well in college. Um, that is not a must for you because most people go to college because they want to have a great job and make money, and that's why when you already have money, you don't need to make a big effort to try to get a professional career or to study a professional to have a professional education because you have everything, right? So you have you already have a prospective living because of the family business. Your father has already thought about your career, and he has done everything for you to keep going and making your business to thrive and to uh, get stronger and better. So that's how we understand the nation's uh, destiny was leading the church, because the church was the emporium that his father inherited him. So the same happens in all over the world. Also, another thing that we have to think about is when you have everything in your life, you don't really have to have to do any kind of sacrifice. And I want to tell you that studying, researching, learning, science, academics is something that requires a lot of discipline, dedication, and commitment. And when you have everything you need, and when you can have everything you want, you have the cost of opportunity is different from a person who doesn't have much things, so much money. Because when you have everything, you can go and travel, you can go to parties, you can go to vacations, you can even have girls, you can enjoy your life, go to bars, get drugs, get as much as alcohol as you want, have cars, you can have everything you want, and there is no reason why should you go and study and spend a lot of time is doing homework, reading, making reports, doing research. Of course, when you have everything, you don't have any motivation to stop enjoying life, to go and commit to the science and to the knowledge. That's why these kind of people that have everything and that have that kind of living, they don't care about getting an education, a professional education, so they underestimate science, and that's why we understand that Nathan didn't end up the not even the primary school, and that's what happens with these kind of people. Most of them don't think it's necessary to study because if they already have money, why should they go and study? Because they don't need a better job. They have everything they need. So this is something that happened also with Nathan. There's traveling, drinking, girls. You can do anything you want, so with no restriction, no economic restriction, and not even legal restriction. So that's why you can find this kind of kids growing inside these families, ended up not caring and underestimating science, education, or academics. And they may have some kind of degrees, but most of the times they have them because they can buy them. But in the end, they end up not knowing very much about what they say they studied. That's something we can see in Nathan. He says he's a doctor, but we can be sure he haven't finished even the primary school. So for people like him being raised in such an environment, education studying becomes something boring, a long-term extensive effort that is unnecessary when you have your future secured. So they underestimate science. So they don't end up doing great in college. Sometimes they don't even finish their career, their professional studies. And there is something, another important thing here we can take into consideration. They don't even know, they don't even have to know how to rule their family business. They don't have to. It actually, they don't have the commitment nor the discipline to take care of their family business. The only thing they have to do is own it and try to hire an expert person who can fulfill their orders and commands. So when you own the business, most of the time what you do is hire an expert and pay them great amounts of money to make them be loyal unto you and to try with all their strength to fulfill the objectives that you set to them. So an owner doesn't really have to know how to run their business. That's the reason why they hire expert people. They only have to keep them loyal to them.
Never admit your mistakes.
So
Roy Cohn was Donald Trump's lawyer for 15 years.
this make them be like unaware and not really understanding the scope of the decisions that they make, because they are only used to only provide the orders and being obeyed. And as they are not used to receive any kind of criticism, even their CEOs or the people that they hire to run their family business are afraid to contradict them, to say something different from them, to speak up when they are not agreeing with their masters. So um, that's the reason why they end up being narcissistic and selfish. Another important thing that I think we have to comment about is that they usually don't have to interact with people of lower social class, right? Lower social level. You won't ever see Trump really interacting or being friends with another as person. They are only surrounded of people of their same social status and their servants. So they are they have a great lack of understanding of how society works or how things are doing, especially because they are only told the good things that they want to hear, and there is no one willing to tell them the truth. And there is no strong or courageous people who want to contradict them. And this fact that they are unable to interact with people of lower social status um, make them being unable to empathize with that kind of people. They are unable to understand the struggling of uh, average American people, average people from the church, and thus they are not empathetic. So we end up having people that has a very inflated ego because they've been born and grown into those circumstances. This is people who underestimate science, people who think that there's people higher and they are the higher people and the other people around them are there to serve them and to please them and everything they want, and the only thing they care is being okay. They don't care about the situation of the people around them because they don't connect with them because they live in a bubble. You can never see a nation really interacting with an ordinary brother of the church, and that's why they are unable to be empathetic. So that's why they become this kind of selfish and egocentric and cruel, even cruel, because they are unable to empathize. And these are the characteristics of a nation, but of course you can see these patterns in another group of people that rules the world nowadays, and this is the people who is the representation, the factual representation of what nation represents in the church globe and the light of the world church. That is to say that nation represents the nepo babies that rule the world, that were grown, they were grown up, they were by their parents, they were raised with us with that lack of understanding of how the society works in a very uh, uh, in a bubble full of privileges and not being able to understand the struggles that average person have to face every day in their life. So this is what nation represents, and these nepo babies with people who actually believe that they are higher than the others and that they have the position that they have because they are superior and deserve to be served, and underestimate their brothers and also underestimate science and knowledge, and also are unable to understand how difficult things are, how difficult all the struggles that the society has overcome. They don't know how we have come into this. We don't know, they don't understand the history. They don't understand the social fights to become a more inclusive and a more free society, a democratic society. So they don't know how difficult it was to get to this point, and that's why they are willing to destroy everything because they don't understand how difficult it was, how much work it required to get to this position. So I've said names represent the wealthy Nepo babies that nowadays are ruling the world and whom are unable to empathize with average human beings.
and shipped to hellhole prisons. I am concerned about our economy tanking. I'm concerned about the fact that we have a president who doesn't care about people.
Things are being defunded. People are losing their jobs. Just really terrible things are happening in this country.
There's something.
Water can't make it downtown, so they protest in front of their retirement community.
Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey.
A nationwide movement of people who want the country to change its direction.
This goes beyond politics. It's not about politics. It's about caring about each other and showing compassion instead of power.